right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking the time to listen to Never Less Than Ill podcast. I'm your host, Justin Ivy, and I'm with my co-host, Lynden Burton from Bros Who Think. This week is a little different for us, a little somber, and not, what we kind of strive to do on the show. We like to keep things very light and casual and upbeat and just have some fun talking hip hop with y'all. But this week, we're kind of reeling a little bit. Lost another hip hop hero, really. And, it's just kind of been building up over this last year. It just seems like we're seeing a lot of death and kind of weighing on our minds, and just felt like after Zumbi from Zion I passed away on Friday, it just felt like the right thing to do to kind of talk a little bit about some of these people, what they meant to us, what they, and the impact they leave in, because, so music's special. There's something, there's just a deeper connection than just really so many forms of entertainment or writing or what, it's just, there's something special about music. And, these people just feel like part of your lives. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about Zumbi, obviously, but we're going to unfortunately have to rattle off a lot of names because this last, half year just has been pretty brutal for hip hop.
It really has, man. We've lost a lot of legends this past year. And even if you go back to last year, it was just a lot too. It's been a dark cloud over hip hop in that sense for like a year now almost.
Yeah. Really rough. When we decided to do this, I just started kind of writing down some names, basically, like just, thinking like, man, who I have to like go back and look at, just because it's been so much. And it was, obviously DMX and Biz Markie and Shock G from Digital Underground, and right at the end of last year, MF Doom
and Black
Rob as well. For me personally, I know that this Zumbi one hit me very hard, and the other one that hit me very hard is Double K from People Under the Stairs. Just to be completely honest with y'all, is when we coming up with this show, when this was, when Never Less Than Ill wasn't even, a show yet, it was just being plotted. It was like, in the vision was, man, this is going to be the type of show where we do an episode about Zion I and People Under the Stairs. And it was, and so now to kind of lose people in both groups within a matter of months, just kind of hit like a ton of bricks, because just as a fan, those groups have influenced me so much as a listener, and informed my tastes, and gotten me through tough times, frankly. So it's just one of those things where we always want to be real with y'all, and this week, actually, our plan was this was going to be our first episode where we weren't like just focusing on one artist, and we were going to run down our favorite albums, and then kind of talk about this year as well as past era. But it just didn't feel like the time to do that amid all this, and so we're going to push that one back, and just kind of talk to y'all this week about how we're feeling, and what these various artists have meant to us.
Yeah, 100%. And y'all, this felt necessary, weighed on Justin's heart, on my heart. And just like he said, this podcast was started from his mind of those groups. So it wouldn't be right if we wouldn't discuss this.
Absolutely. So, man, just to tell you a little bit about kind of my personal experience listening to Zumbi and Zion I. This, anyone that knows me well, or if you've been listening to this show, I'm an underground hip hop head. Like that's my, that's what I've always been drawn to, and right. And when I was just a kid, I mean, I'm just a little kid, and I'm I've become a hip hop fan, and I'm learning more and more and more. And then right around like 2000 is where I really discovered like this other sort of hip hop, this something beyond what was on MTV and BET and, just in the radio and what you could, hear. Um, and one of those groups that I discovered was Zion I. And I discovered their album Mind Over Matter. And I remember the first song I heard in particular was Critical. It was a song featuring Planet Asia. And I think the way I may have stumbled it, honestly, was like Dilated Peoples had done a song with Planet Asia. And so I just knew him, and I was like, oh, I know this guy. And so if he's on this song, it must be good. So and I just, boom, goes down this whole rabbit hole. And, Zion I quickly became one of my favorites. And I love that Mind Over Matter album to this day. And, just, so I just kind of think back, and I'm just, looking at it as like, man, this was, not only did these artists just become, favorites of mine, but they were my, lesson 101 almost.
Yeah, your entry point.
Yeah. It was like what made me, appreciate and notice and understand this whole other side. And I'm just kind of forever thankful for that. And
what about it made you drawn to that? Like, what about it was that like made you fall in love with Zion I?
I think it just seemed very kind of raw and honest and pure in a way. I think that's, it's nothing that you could say about any artist's intentions, but it's just like the idea that like this was someone, like just the songs and the content, like there was just this love of hip hop that permeated it, content wise. And like that, that was Zumbi, because Amp Live was the producer and Zumbi was the rapper. And it just hit me. It was like, oh man, like, this guy's voicing like why I'm loving this stuff, why why it has attracted me, why is this is, why I'm becoming this fan and wanting to, delve into the, all this, and why it's not just, random music. It's like becoming part of my identity as a kid. And I think that was a lot of it. It's just, I mean, some of it just, on a base level, it was just good. It sounded good. It was the rhymes were just very attracting to my mind. But yeah, I think that was kind of that deep connection that was building. And as the years went on, I just became more and more of a diehard Zion I fan. And it was like, I remember, they put out an album with the Grouch, who's a guy from Living Legends crew, Murs and all them on the West Coast. And yeah, I remember it was like, it's such a little thing, like in retrospect, but it was one of the first t-shirts from an artist that I bought like with my own money. It's like I went on the online store and put in, and I was like, it was like that just felt like an accomplishment in my life. You know what I mean? Like one of those things, like when I was in high school, like a feeling of like, oh, this is, yeah, like I'm supporting the art.
Yeah.
I'm not just buying the CD, like I'm really giving them, for this t-shirt.
I'm a fan for real.
Yeah, like I'm a fan. I'm gonna wear it around town. You know what I mean? And so it's just, Zion I it was just one of those, they were like one of my guys. It's like
Yeah.
when you talk about like, your favorite sports team, it's like, maybe there's like some role player that like, is not the star. It's just like, but that's your guy. And like you root for him hard. Like that was how I almost felt like with Zion I. It was just like I was gonna champion him whenever I had a chance. And like to get, I mean, super honest and super, real with y'all. I suffered from severe depression at a point in my life, like in my last year of high school. And like I had full blown panic attacks and like suffering from anxiety disorder. And like one of the things that helped me in like coping and like dealing with that was listening to Zion I. And they had this song on that album, Mind Over Matter, called Trippin'. And I just used to listen to that like on loop when I was going through that. Like it was just they had this a line in it where Zumbi says, "Being normal nowadays will drive you crazy," and it was just like that line just touched me. Like it's like
Stuck with you.
I already love this song, and now it's just like it's built this deeper meaning for me as I'm going through this. And they have another song called "Live for Today." This was from a album a few albums later, and that was another one where it was just like, I had like reached a point in my life where I'm thinking like, man, I'm broken. Like I don't know what, how do I move forward? Like, am I gonna just be like this shell of a person? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like this song, it was just like saying like, live for today. And it was just kind of motivating me in a way. It's like that there was, to not be so focused on looking ahead and just focused on the day itself and what it, accomplishing that. And so I'm forever thankful to them and Zumbi in particular, because man, he's the man writing these lyrics, and for just what that did for me at that time, because it was like, I don't know how different it is without those kind of moments, just those things like that where they're just, it's not somebody directly talking to you, it's just something that's kind of permeating your life and just kind of touching you in a way that something else can. It's just I kind of go back to that of what music means. It's just that music and in hip hop in particular, I feel like the connection with the artist in hip hop is just so different.
It is.
Because it goes back. We get into those kind of fun fights and arguments about stuff like ghostwriting and all that, but it's like when you think about the why the ghostwriting stuff angers people, it's like because there's just this idea that like when you're listening to a rapper, is like you're hearing their true words, you're
Yeah, their
hearing
thoughts.
they really feel and what they really went through and what they really want to tell you. And it's like
Mhm.
I think that's just kind of that's one of those moments where it's like, obviously he's not, speaking to me personally, but he's
But it's
speaking
something
in
that you
general,
connected with.
and it's connecting to me with
Yeah.
person. And
And that's what makes music timeless. What would you say is your favorite your I don't want to make you put you on the spot, but what would you say is some of the albums that you like the most from them?
yeah, Mind Over Matter, obviously, not just because it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of hailed now as an underground classic, obviously, but man, it was the introduction. It's like, it's kind of the nothing better than your first time kind of thing. It's like uh, hearing that album in full, there's nothing quite like it. I love True and Living. That was their third album. That was another one that just kind of cemented my fandom, I guess you could say. Like just like, oh man, like these guys are great. And yeah, I do love the album with the Grouch too. It's different, again, it's because it's a collab album where they're working with another guy. But and then they had this they got an album, The Takeover, 2009, I want to say, maybe 2010. I'm blanking on the exact dates. But around then, and I just kind of loved it was very different sound for them, and so it was just kind of fun to hear that kind of change in sound, and yet it's still working really well. And I just remember kind of my early days, my origin story in covering hip hop. It's like I was at the radio station at KLSU hosting Underground Sounds, which is a hip hop show. And it was like I just remember getting like the clean versions of The Takeover, and it's just like that would be a staple of my show. Like I used to love like the title track, and I just used to run tracks from that album all the time. So but yeah, I mean, I think Zion I, one of the thing about them too is like, in later years, Amp Live, they left the group, and so the sound kind of morphed and changed at times. But I just always felt like they were one of those where I knew the album was going to be good. You know what I mean? It
Mhm.
wasn't one of those artists where I felt like I'm anxious about this new release because I wonder if it'll be not good enough to or live up to my, like I always knew they were going to deliver. It
They
might not
never
be
let
what
you
I
down.
expect. It might not be exactly what I expect, but they're going to deliver. And yeah, and they're and while I am kind of on that tangent of their music, is Zumbi actually did this side project with a producer named the R who's from Texas actually. And people might know him, if they're big into like chaotics and like this kind of underground scene in Texas. But they did this project together called The Burners, and I used to love that. That was like one of my favorite side projects. Like a rapper, outside of Zion I. But I just, that's part of Zumbi's catalog, and I feel like that album always like I always like to give that album love because I think it's like just a really great album.
100%. And see, that's awesome that you share with us like why this is so important. And that's why we had to talk about it and spend the time, because this artist impacted you that much, you know?
Mhm. Absolutely, yeah. And it's just it's one of those. I've been very, this is a weird, career, life covering hip hop, and but been like very blessed that like very early in my days, I got to just not only cover but interact with a lot of my heroes, and Zumi was one of them. It was like Zumbi. I'd get to talk to him over email, and when he was when they had an album coming out or they were singles or stuff, and I got to converse with him, and it's like we got cool enough to be to where we were Facebook friends, and it's like I got to know. It's not like we were close buddies or
But your
anything like that.
acquaintances.
Yeah, but it was like, I got to know who Stephen Gaines was, not Zumbi from Zion I, and like,
Mhm.
and so I think that's part of it is where it's like, it's almost, you just feel like it always hurts. Like when DMX died, it hurt, like it sucked. But it was like, I didn't X, I didn't, he was, he was like larger than life for me. It's like,
Yeah.
Zumbi was like right there. Like I could see photos of his kids on his Facebook, and like, and so it just hits like so hard of like knowing what his family's going through, and like, and just, I can only imagine, just what they're feeling right now, and friends, and yeah, it's just, it's one of those things that just, it sucks. It really sucks. Uh, you know, I didn't think, it's one of those things where it makes you, every time these things happen, you kind of get a punch in the gut of like, you needed to be appreciating the people while they're
Yeah.
here more,
Like,
it's
wish we
like,
could have given him his flowers. Wish we could have given Biz Markie his flowers. Wish we could have given X his flowers. And that's the thing that sucks about it, is all of these people are legends, and they don't get their flowers when they can see them.
yeah, it's so rough because it's like, man, it's just, you wish for all these people just to live long lives, and not, and it's always tragic, when it's a shooting, or things like this, or some kind of accident, something that just takes, but it's like, when it's health stuff and
That's
things like
just as
that,
tragic
it's
too.
just, it hurts, it's like, oh man, it's like, why couldn't that have, just not happen, why
Yeah.
couldn't, why this have to happen to them, why, and it's just, it sucks.
What would
um
you say is your greatest memory from either listening to them or encountering with them, or what just your greatest memory being a fan of
mm,
Zion I?
um man, favorite memory as man, that's tough. I would say, I think probably like just covering their album Atomic Clock. Like that was like, um, I had just been like such a huge fan, and then now I'm, getting into this world of rap writing, covering hip hop, and it's emerging, and I'm like seeing like, oh man, like this could be, I could do this, like I could, there's a lane for me here. And just so like just having a platform to cover that album, it was just like I think that will maybe stick out as something special, because it's like it's a moment where you never, at the end of the day, it's like being a blogger, a press or whatever, covering these times like in the blog era. It was like you were playing a small role in this larger story, but it was like, just the notion that I could have helped at all, like that
Yeah.
one write up or anything that I was doing helped them at all, in that run of promoting that album. Like the notion that anything I did even got them one more fan to pay attention, or reminded somebody that, oh, Zion I's got it, like anything like that. Like that just, I would say that would be a special memory for me, because it would just feel like um, a small way that I gave back to them, and just as almost a thank you, like thank you for all you did for me. I hope this small little thing, helped.
Helped in any way. Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. Now, not to take it away from this, but just to bring it like a little bit out, like zoom out of the microscope. What do you think this past year overall contextualized means for hip hop, in the fact of losing so many legends? Do we look at this differently as fans, in the sense of, like we were saying, giving these people their flowers earlier, not being so judgmental as fans, because we know how fans can get critical? Basically, what I'm asking, what do you think is the takeaway from seeing this year as fans, and I guess people who cover hip hop and love this culture?
Mhm. It's tough. I think the one thing we always kind of get in these moments are, just that reminder that we, to show love. It's like, uh, maybe this person hasn't dropped an album in 3 years or whatever. It's like, or maybe, you know, maybe you started, you used to love their work, and then you got to a point where I'm just not enjoying the sound anymore or whatever. It's like, but with the way, we got social media and things, and re-release, all these things, there's so many ways to like just let these people know, what they meant to you, and what they, and that's, it's such a simple, such a simple act. You could send one little tweet to just say like, man, this meant a lot to me, back then, or what, or this came on the shuffle recently, and it just reminded me all the good times I had listening to your music, kind of thing. Just, I think that's what would kind of hit me, is just like, as much as you can, let people know, you know, that they've impacted you, and and let them know, because I think all artists at the end of the day, especially underground artists, where the fan connection is so much closer, because it's like, they're paying the bills,
Mhm.
our fans are paying the bills at times, and it's, just letting people know that that they're special, that
Yeah,
they
you
impacted
appreciate their
you,
art.
and you were why you're a fan. I think that at the end of, it's like things are priceless. Those are one of those priceless things where like just somebody tells you, that they enjoyed something, or that it meant a lot to them. It's just like, I mean, we can even talk about it like on our level. It's like, if I wrote something and somebody tells me they enjoyed it, and it's like, or if we did a pod and they said, man, that was a really great episode, like those little things. It's like, it might seem innocuous, but it's like, it means a lot to the
Yeah,
creators.
those
It
things
means
matter.
those things. And so I think, with artists, sometimes, we might not appreciate that they're people, it's like, and they're going through shit too, and they're
Yeah.
going through and it's like, especially the underground artists, like this last year, and we're talking about, what's been going on this last
No
year,
touring. Yeah,
no
man.
touring, no, dealing with COVID, living, having to live this life, our new reality, man, anything you can do is like, I mean, it's amazing when you can, support monetarily. Obviously,
Mhm.
it's like they drop an album, you can support that way. They have shirts, they got merch, they got,
But even if you can't support monetarily, just passing their music along, a retweet doesn't hurt.
That's what I mean, is like, just, there's more, obviously, hey, we need money to survive, but those moments of like spreading the word and telling somebody about their music, and putting them on a playlist that you put together for a friend, and talking about them on your Twitter or whatever, just those little small ways. It's like those little things can just help, and just let these people be better known. It's like, because I think that's one of the things, is like, it sucks to think about like, like somebody didn't start paying attention to this person until they passed away. It's like, you think of like, they hit those stories of like the old artists that's like, they were their whole career, they didn't have anything to show for it, and then in like 70 years after they're dead, it's like, oh, they're appreciated as this amazing artist. It's like, oh well,
Da Vinci and Picasso's chilling on the streets, and then now their works is in the biggest museum of all time.
Yeah, it's like, it's amazing. Like, timelessness is amazing. It's that idea that something can touch you. When I'm listening to like Otis Redding, it's like, that's amazing. That's like, I can be an Otis Redding fan and not have lived a second of life at the same time he was alive. But at the same time, it's like, for that person, that support and fandom and appreciation in their lifetime is what means
matters. Yeah.
And so I just hope that these kind of moments, and like, can just kind of remind us, like, we got to show love. It's just so important. And yeah, as we kind of think about that, obviously this podcast was kind of spurred on, by Zumbi's death in particular. But like I mentioned, we've been rattling through them, unfortunately. And Double K from People Under the Stairs, that was somebody, thinking of these episodes. It's like, I was afraid almost to kind of like do a People Under the Stairs episode, because it was like, man, I might get emotional about Double K. Like, it's like, and you want to keep these episodes, chill and fun, casual, like, something nice to listen on the car drive, or, while you're playing a game or something. But those things, it hits, and it's like, man, and you look at somebody like Biz Markie, and it's just like, talking about, one of the most important voices in hip hop, and like, not just what he did as an artist. Like, this guy was a historian. Like, this guy was collecting
like if you go listen to the stories with him, like what Questlove was telling about, like, just what Biz Markie meant to the culture, just like, it's crazy. It's mind blowing. It's like you said, this guy was a historian, and we just lost a very critical figure to like telling that story onward, and like showing this information that he has that's being lost to like the annals of history.
Yeah, it's like, there's no replacing that. It's like, you sit there, and it's like, I think a lot of times we just, to cope, we move on. You cope, we don't wallow in stuff, because it's like, if you just sit in it, what do you, there's you can't move forward. It's like, you just get depressed, you get overwhelmed by it, and it's like, so you almost put it out of your head, like, another one, the kind of thing. It's like, and it sucks, because you sit there, and you have a moment like these, where it's just like, it builds up. It's like, there's too much building up, and it's all, and the house crumbles eventually, and it makes you think about it all. And I think for a lot of people, that might have been, MF Doom. That was somebody that meant a lot, in terms of like what we're talking about, these underground sensibilities. I know Doom was that for a lot of people,
man.
Whether it be like, discovering him through Adult Swim, or Mad Villain, or just the whole characters and everything. Those are people that just mean something more. I think that's you know, you were asking about like, what do we kind of assess of these years? I think it's, you know, while there's overbearing sadness, you know, in losing these people, there's also sort of a remembrance of just how much impact they did make, you know, and it's like, man, you know, this many people are torn up about this, you know, this many people are, you know, not just simply throwing up, you know, hey, up R.I.P, blah, 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 this person,
No, like they seriously
you
care.
know, they're knocking out their tweet for the, you know, to look, you know, like, no, like this will ruin their day. This,
And that not only was Doom a prime example of that, X was a prime example of that. Like when DMX passed, that was huge. It showed you how much this person, and not just him, how much all of these people touched each other as like human beings. And I think that's like the most important thing we can take from this is like these people will live on forever because look at how many people they touched, and that's how you like magnify their importance or worth, I guess you'd say, as human beings, because look at how many people they helped, look how many people love them, look at how many people care about them. And I think that's like the positive thing you take from this.
absolutely. Yeah. I think, you know, I think about it like with DMX in particular, it's like that is an example of someone that reached the absolute heights of stardom. You know what I mean? And you know, you look at just his life and career trajectory. It's just, you know, his struggles and, you know, just the inability, you know, kind of to maintain that high that he was on. And it's like, you know, he faded away from our consciousness. And then we had something like Versus, like
Yeah.
throwing back in our face. Like I think, you know, whatever you might think of how Versus has, you know, evolved or whatever, it's like I love that those things existed, you know, to
And he,
give X that moment before he
yeah,
was gone. You
he
know,
got
it's
to
like,
have his moment where everyone appreciated, like that night was like, man, DMX was an amazing artist.
yeah, you know, it's like, you know, obviously, you know, something, you know, party up in here, you know, big scene like that. It's like, okay, a ton of people listen to that. But then, you know, there's this whole segment of DMX listeners that just never listen to him again, like after 2003 or 4 or whatever. There's other DMX fans that like rode and died when this dude, you know, not to do the pun of
Mm,
Rough Riders, but like literally, like that was their guy.
yeah.
And it's like, those are the people I feel for, you know what I mean? It's like obviously family, friends, loved ones, that those are the people that are hurt most in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like these people that when you're a fan and these people meant so much to you, that's just, there's no replacing it. You know, it's like I still think of like, you know, shit's not the same since Pimp C died for me. You know, it's like I love UGK. Like it's you know, it's him being gone is still funky for me.
Yeah.
You know, I was younger, and so I feel like it didn't have the same weight on me. But like when Old Dirty Bastard died, you know, Wu-Tang, that's my favorite group. And so it's like sometimes I had those moments of like thinking like, oh, like you know, like I didn't get to, you know, see that like they were going to play Jazz Fest. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I feel like those moments like is where it would hit me almost like I'm not going to get to see him there like that, like there should be this alternate universe where I see him there, you know.
Yeah.
And I think another one that kind of sticks out in my head is like Guru. I think that's another one that hit a lot of people hard with Gangstar. Uh, you know, it's just there's sort of, you know, when people make a certain impact on you and on hip hop, it's just like there's no recovering from it. And you know, it's just a tough time. But like you said, it's the one of the only things we can do is just sort of show that appreciation and say and kind of keep these people's name and keep them going. And you know, I think the whole, you know, the posthumous album stuff can get, you know,
Out of
kind of
hand.
out of hand and goofy at times. I think people are kind of seeing that with Pop Smoke right now. It's like kind of like you feel like they're kind of milking everything they can from this guy's catalog. It's like, oh man, like
It's a lot.
And so I think it's the best thing you do is just like you appreciate what you got while they were there. And it's like you just champion that. It's like there's it doesn't matter that they've been gone 5 years, 10 years, whatever years. Like, put somebody onto their music. If you still you love it, it's like
and the only thing I can say about the posthumous albums, albums is the fact that like these people's kids and families can eat off of that. That's like the only like positive from these things, besides like the label getting money from this, is the fact that these families can still eat from that. And that's like the only thing I look at is like, all right, this is not just for the label's greed. No, this helps their actual kids and families.
Without doubt. Yeah. While we're on that note, I know for like Zumbi specifically, there's a GoFundMe right now, to do a college fund for him. I guess we could probably link in that.
Yeah, we'll put that in the description.
And, those kind of things, when the reality, the time keeps on coming, death is inevitable. And we're going to, whether it's a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, we're going to be dealing with another one of these kind of situations, and it's going to be rough. And I think when there's are those moments. Obviously, you always want it to be a friend or a family member, somebody that the money's going to the right people. Yeah. It's like if you can, give something, anything. If it's all $5, whatever helps. When those moments happen, it's like because there's no
replacing that.
There's no replace. Like Zumbi got kids. They just lost a dad. They just lost a provider. It's like I think part of showing up as a fan in a way is like, hey, treat it like Zion I just dropped an album and you're about to buy it. It's like just go or they're coming to your town for a show. It's like
or a shirt, like whatever it is to help
drop that
family.
money that you would have done for them. And because these people, I think one of it is like they deserve it. It's like when they impacted you in that way, it's like you got to do whatever you can to kind of to show that appreciation, that love for the people they left behind.
100%. Yeah, we'll definitely put the link in the description wherever you listen, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you listen to SoundCloud, and you can go donate to the GoFundMe today.
Oh man, Lynn, what's on your mind? I know like when we were talking about this, we were just kind of like, man, how do we go down this road, kind of thing. And I don't know what's kind of how have you felt this last year, just kind of seeing some of these people we've lost?
I think it's just like you said, it was just like, damn, another one, keep moving, damn, another one, keep moving. And it's like certain people make you stop and look. And like even if I go back to like 2019 when like Nipsey passed away, it was just like, whoa, didn't expect. That was one of those where it's like you stop and look around, because I think at that point XXXTentacion's died, maybe Juice WRLD had died a couple weeks before, I'm not 100% sure, but it was just like, whoa, we just keep losing this after this. And I think recently a little bit more so than DMX was when Shock G died, and I was like, damn, we're really losing a lot of people. Because I was like, I just remember being in my mom's car, listening to Digital Underground, listening to that music, and it just brought me back to those times. And it was mainly just recently a lot of shock, not as much of like personal impact, because not a lot of these artists I've had personal ties with. Like I said, the one that made me realize it was Shock G, because I had a personal tie there. But it's just a lot of shock and a lot of somber for losing a lot of heroes that meant a lot to people.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think sort of shock is almost the way we are dealing with, almost especially this COVID time. It's like it's just kind of the way we're moving through it. Is like there's no it feels like we're lacking the time to process,
Definitely on.
and sort of deal with these things. It's just like, nope, you got to move to the next day. Sorry, you know, uh, and it's just it's so it just kind of makes me sad. Like when I
Yeah.
sit on it and reflect on it, it's like, God, like these people deserve like a whole week of
Because
just
I
love.
remember when I was young, you get parade, like not parades, but like maybe that's the wrong word, but I remember when James Brown was like processed through the United States of America, and like it was on CNN. Like I remember this. I remember when Michael Jackson was paraded through America. I remember when Prince was sent to his home because they wouldn't let him be paraded. Like I remember these things on like CNN and national television, and I feel like that doesn't happen anymore.
Mm, yeah, I think a lot of it is just like in hip hop, you know, we've become almost desensitized too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, whether it was shootings or just or just crazy, the crazy, we had Tupac and Biggie and Jam Master Jay and all this stuff, and it's just like it just
But
became rote and part of life.
and
It's
then it
like,
just continues even to today, like you said, like with Pop Smoke, you see with X, like it's still shootings we deal with. But like you said, now since we're getting older, we're getting health involved in this too now, even more so. So it's just something that, yeah, like we are very desensitized to, at least of right now in hip hop.
mhm. And when we talk about like, oh, we need to appreciate people while they're here. I think about hip hop had its birthday. The idea, the first first party where Cool Herc was,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I just think that like we should be so much more like just I don't know if astounded is the right word, but just joyful and happy, like that Cool Herc is still here,
Mm-hmm.
and like that he can be talked to, he can be reached out to, he can do an interview for somebody. So I saw my a colleague of mine from back in Preezy, did a story with him for Vibe, and it was just like that was like a little moment where it's like, in these times where it's just like you're getting these gut punches, like that was a moment where it's like, yes, like that,
No,
that's so
that's a big
amazing that we're
moment. And just another one, like that's something that you need. Like Cool Herc's still here to be talked about. Just someone who was so impactful to the game. For example, Nas just dropped an album. No matter how you feel about Nas, that's still the guy who made Illmatic. Like he just dropped a new album. And it's like those are wins we need to like account for in hip hop.
Mhm. And so, I think if there's any kind of moral of the story type of thing on this episode is like we always just want to show our appreciation, and that's been the design of this show. Is like that's what we wanted to do. Is like when we cover these artists, it's not just because they have some good SEO algorithm to search for the show. It's
There's
like
no
no,
T. Like we're
like
not talking about the T. We're not talking about Shade Room. We're not talking about the TMZ. No, we're
yeah,
talking
it's
about
like
not
that's
these
why we want to do
moments.
this. It's like we wanted to say, man, we wanted to give love to Slick Rick, and we wanted to give love to Little Brother, and we wanted to give to Paul Wall and Camille. Like it's like these are the guys, we want to do that, and that's what we're going to continue doing with this show. And the future shows will be back to what we do. We're going to be fun, and we're going to be talking. But it was just right for us to come here this week and be real and talk about how we're feeling and what these hip hop, losing people in hip hop really does to just your psyche and your well-being. I really appreciate everybody. If if you made it this far, like thank you so much for just bearing with us and delving into this conversation. And hopefully we're able to let you kind of contemplate and reflect and sort of process whatever artists that you may have loved and lost in this past year, 2 years, 3 years, because I think for every Nipsey Hussle, we have that moment where there's it's the sadness of losing them, but it's like there's a pride in seeing how much outpouring love and appreciation it is. But for every Nipsey Hussle, there's 5 other artists that just don't get that constant love and appreciation and just due for what they did and what they made and the impact they left on people's lives. And so I hope we can just better appreciate everyone that that we lose.
No, 100%. I think you said it well. Are we doing a listener lanyard this week? Or are we saving that for next week?
I think we'll save listener
All
lanyard.
right. Because I got one for you. I watched a Bong Joon-ho movie today. I got one for you.
Yeah, I think you're telling me. Was it Memories of
Yes, sir. On Hulu, I watched that today.
I love that movie. Yeah. So we're gonna what we're gonna do is, obviously we like to give these to you every other week, but since we sort of went down, we had this little kind of special episode. We're gonna come back to you, real quick. We're gonna come back next week with another episode and get back into the flow of things, and we'll be talking about our favorite albums from this year, and also feels appropriate for me because man, when I was creating my little list, I was thinking of Zion I, and we're gonna delve into some of our favorites from kind of the mid 2000s and albums that kind of stuck in our memory
from 04 to 07.
Yeah, we're gonna kind of take a little trip back, and so it's gonna be a fun episode where we're not talking about a specific artist. We're just gonna kind of roll in to a lot of different albums, and hopefully y'all enjoy it. Thank y'all so much for taking the time to listen to us. We'll be back soon with another episode of Never Less Than Ill. And rest in peace, Zumbi. Rest in peace, everyone we've lost. Gift of Gab, Double K, DMX, Biz Markie, MF Doom, anyone I'm forgetting. Shock G, obviously. Man, thank you all for what y'all have done for hip hop.